This is the story of why Mary Austin has finally decided to walk away from the sanctuary she protected for over 3 decades, and the reason she is enforcing such a rigid rule for anyone who wishes to step inside. After spending half her life as the silent guardian of Garden Lodge, Mary Austin is ready to speak about the burden and the beauty of maintaining Freddie Mercury's final home. For 30 years, the legendary estate in the heart of Kensington has remained a hidden fortress, shielded from the public eye by the woman Freddie trusted most in the world. Meeting the man who would become a global icon happened when Mary was only 19, and by her 75th year, she had spent nearly half her life protecting his most private memories. The decision to sell the estate in February of 2024 for £30 million was not a choice she accepted lightly. Mary viewed the house as a glorious memory box. It was a home filled with the remnants of a life shared with the greatest frontman in rock history. The listing of the neo-Georgian mansion appeared through the real estate firm Knight Frank for $38 million, which marked a massive shift for both Mary and the legacy of the house. She expressed that she is finally ready to move on because she believes 3 decades of maintaining the sanctuary is enough time before entrusting that piece to someone new. Garden Lodge stayed on the market without a confirmed buyer, even as the calendar turned to early 2026, which likely stems from the high price and the very specific requirements Mary has for the next owner. Her goal is more than just finding a wealthy investor. Mary is searching for an individual who truly understands the artistic soul of the building and the quiet dignity Freddie created there. Thinking back to the origins of the home, she remembers the excitement Freddie felt when they first walked through those gates together in 1980. At that time, Freddie searched for a grand London residence to hold his art collection and provide absolute privacy, and he found exactly that in this corner of Kensington. Freddie purchased the property for £500,000, a figure that represented a significant amount back then that seems small compared to the value the estate has gained over 40 years. Transforming the house into an interior design masterpiece became a labor of love for Freddie, and Mary spent the next 3 decades ensuring his vision remained untouched by the outside world. Inside the mansion, 8 bedrooms and expansive gardens were meticulously cared for, which created a green oasis sitting just a short distance from the busy streets of London. Mary often mentioned how the house gave Freddie a sense of peace during his final years, so she felt a deep responsibility to keep that atmosphere alive long after he passed away. Her choice to sell is an act of stewardship. She wants to make sure the home stays a private residence rather than turning into a museum or a tourist attraction. The passing of time only made her more determined to protect the space, and finding the right successor is the most important task she has left as the executor. Now that she is 75, Mary is reflecting on the moments of joy and sorrow that happened inside those brick walls, ranging from legendary parties to quiet afternoons in the sunroom. The house acted as a constant companion for her and offered comfort through the decades, but she admits that carrying such a massive legacy alone can be a heavy burden. By listing the property, she is trying to release herself from the role of the eternal guardian while still holding the strict standards Freddie would have expected. She is finally letting go. People around the world are waiting to see who will eventually take the keys to Garden Lodge, but for now, Mary remains the steadfast protector of the peace Freddie Mercury worked so hard to build. This transition marks the end of an era for the Queen family, as the most tangible connection to Freddie's private world is about to change hands for the first time since his passing in 1991. Garden Lodge represented the massive success Freddie found after he left Zanzibar for London as a young man with nothing but big dreams. His eclectic style filled every room, ranging from delicate Japanese influences to the grand piano that served as the center of his songwriting process. Mary Austin maintained these specific details for decades because she wanted to act as a bridge between his past and the present world. She often spoke of the mansion as the only place where Freddie felt free to be himself, far away from the costumes and bright stadium lights. When she decided to sell the property in 2024, she felt the house deserved to have a new life instead of just sitting there as a quiet monument. Although she loved living there, Mary admitted that the time had finally come for her to find a smaller home where she could lead a much quieter life. The £30 million asking price reflects the incredible history of the estate, but it also means that only a very small group of buyers can afford it. Even with so much money on the line, Mary is staying patient and refuses to rush into a deal that might damage the heritage of the property. She spent most of her life putting Freddie and his needs first, and she is handling this final real estate sale with that same level of care. This home stands as proof of a bond that survived fame and heartbreak, and Mary is determined to make sure the next owner respects that history. As the listing approaches its second year on the market in 2026, the dignity of Garden Lodge remains intact, just as Mary intended when she became its protector. Mary requires every potential buyer to provide proof of funds and pass a background check before they are even allowed to step inside for a viewing. She designed this strict vetting process to stop people from treating the house like a tourist attraction or exploiting the memory of how the legend lived. Because the world is still fascinated by Freddie Mercury, Mary feels a deep responsibility to protect his private sanctuary from anyone who is just curious. These financial checks and personal screenings allow her to filter out anyone who is not ready to treat the home with the respect it truly deserves. This is not just a high-end real estate deal for her, but a way to manage the transition of a site that holds his essence. The rules she established act as a final barricade against the tabloid sensationalism that usually follows the memory of a famous person like Freddie. Mary told Bloomberg in 2024 that she hopes the next owner is an artist or a creative person who can appreciate the history inside those walls. She believes the house has a unique energy fueled by Freddie, and she wants to see that spirit continue under the care of a new steward. To Mary, the perfect buyer is someone who views the home as a living piece of art, rather than a trophy or a simple business opportunity. Decades were spent maintaining the exact look that Freddie perfected, and she finds it very difficult to think about all that hard work being ignored. Her biggest fear is that a developer might buy the estate and tear down the neo-Georgian house that Freddie spent years designing to his exact specifications. In a city like London, where historic homes are often gutted for modern apartments, the threat to Garden Lodge feels very real and very immediate. Mary sees the architecture and the layout of the mansion as an extension of Freddie, so any major changes would feel like a betrayal of his legacy. After watching other landmarks in Kensington get transformed until they are unrecognizable, she is determined that Garden Lodge will not suffer that same fate. Even though some real estate experts say her vetting process is too restrictive, Mary says these measures are necessary to protect the integrity of Freddie's vision. The mansion is not a standard listing, so it should not be treated like one, even if the sale takes much longer to finish. Her commitment to the right person means the house is still on the market in 2026, but she shows no signs of lowering her high standards. For Mary, the money is not as important as preserving the peace that she and Freddie built together more than 40 years ago. Mary uses this rigorous screening as a shield to manage exactly who enters the most private corners of the life Freddie left behind. Every hallway and room holds a memory known only to her, and the thought of casual onlookers touring the space for no real reason is deeply painful. This rule of total privacy honors the quiet life Freddie worked so hard to maintain during his final years in London. While some real estate experts might view her demands as a hurdle to a quick transaction, she considers herself the final guardian of a world that belonged only to Freddie and his inner circle. Her strict requirements ensure that a potential buyer must prove their sincerity and their deep respect for the history of the house before they ever step through the front door. These intensive background checks look for more than just a bank balance, because Mary is searching for a specific type of character in the next owner. She needs to know that whoever moves into Garden Lodge will tend the grounds and the rooms with the same 30 years of devotion she has given them. This insistence on dignity reflects a woman who refuses to lower her standards, even when the modern property market demands speed and efficiency. The sale has become a major talking point in the exclusive circles of the city, yet she stays within the brick walls and waits for the right person to arrive. Her enduring patience shows the depth of her love for Freddie, as she is willing to wait as long as necessary to find someone who treats his sanctuary with the honor it deserves. The possibility of a new owner demolishing the structure weighs heavily on her mind, since she will lose all influence over the property once the papers are signed. This fear has made her incredibly selective, prompting her to look for people who appreciate traditional architecture and the specific cultural weight of the Queen era. Mary believes the house should remain a home where someone can find the same peace Freddie sought when he returned from the exhaustion of global tours. By filtering every applicant so carefully, she is looking for a soul who values a quiet life just as much as the man who built the retreat. The heritage of the estate remains secure, as long as she is the one holding the keys, and her firm rules send a message that this sanctuary is not open to the highest bidder. She continues to act as a figure of quiet strength and remains the most capable protector of the man she spent her life supporting. During the spring of 2026, Mary Austin stepped away from her usual privacy to address a series of tabloid stories that had started to spread through the international media. These reports claimed that Freddie Mercury had a secret daughter named Bibi, a story that Mary dismissed as completely false and lacking any factual basis. She took the rare step of issuing a formal statement from Garden Lodge to protect the integrity of his memory and his personal history. For a woman who spent decades avoiding the press, this intervention showed how seriously she viewed her responsibility to the truth. She made it clear that these sensational claims were nothing more than an attempt to profit from his name, rather than a search for real answers. On March 9, 2026, the official website of Brian May shared a special feature titled A Life in Lyrics with Mary Austin to provide more perspective on her role. This collaboration highlighted her unique position as the primary guardian of Freddie's creative world and showed that she still has the complete support of the band. The post explained how she was a constant presence during the recording of their most famous songs and often heard the raw versions of the music first. By focusing on her influence during the creative process, the band reminded the public that she was a partner in the work that made them famous. This display of unity between Mary and the members of Queen proved that the inner circle is still working together to keep Freddie's legacy away from outside interference. Mary Austin used her public address in the spring of 2026 to explain that her decades of silence were never about hiding scandals or secrets. Staying out of the spotlight was a conscious choice intended to guard his privacy, which was something Freddie Mercury valued much more than his fame. According to Mary, people often mistake a quiet life for one full of mysteries, but her main focus has always been giving Freddie the same protection he wanted during his last years. In her view, being truly loyal means keeping personal moments private, even when the rest of the world is pressuring you to share every single detail. This explanation was a major part of her own process as she prepares to leave Garden Lodge while still honoring the promises she made to the man she loved. That statement also reinforced her belief that Garden Lodge is a special place that must be protected from sensational stories while she looks for a new owner. Mary is determined to keep the house away from tabloid drama and false claims because she sees the mansion as a lasting monument to the hard work Freddie put into his art. Her commitment to dignity extends to the reputation of the home, and she insists that any buyer must respect the peaceful environment she has maintained for over 30 years. By speaking about the rumors surrounding BB directly, she was clearing the way for a sale built on truth and respect instead of gossip and speculation. A clear understanding of the history and a commitment to keeping the quiet elegance of the property are what she expects from the next owner. Her formal message reminded everyone that Mary still manages the stories surrounding Freddie's final years. At 75 years old, her determination to defend his character remains as strong as ever. Acting as a gatekeeper for information about his life allows her to ensure that only the truth and respectful stories are allowed to last. The issues that came up in March of 2026 showed that Mary will step into the light if she feels his dignity is being threatened. Her words from Garden Lodge were about more than just stopping one rumor, as she was setting a standard for how the world should remember Freddie Mercury. While the gates of the estate stay closed to the public, Mary Austin continues her watch and proves that their bond is something no headline can break. Before she could ever list the actual house for sale, she had to handle the emotional job of clearing out the treasures Freddie collected throughout his life. During the autumn of 2023, a series of auctions at Sotheby's in London featured over 1,400 personal items from the estate that were sold to collectors. This massive event raised more than £40 million, which equals about $50 million for the estate and various charities. Mary ensured that a large amount of that money went to the Mercury Phoenix Trust and the Elton John AIDS Foundation to keep supporting the fight against the disease that took Freddie. The items sold included the baby grand piano, where he wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, and the famous stage costumes that everyone remembers from his career. Fans saw a chance to own history, but Mary viewed the sale as a necessary step in her long process of letting go. However, the choice to clear out the inside of Garden Lodge was not something that everyone in the Queen family agreed with at the time. Freddie's sister, Kashmira Bulsara, was reportedly disappointed about the sale of the house and the scattering of its contents because she saw the collection as part of her brother's story. Kashmira ended up spending about £3 million at the auction to buy back specific family items that had deep sentimental value for the Bulsaras. This tension showed the complicated emotions involved when a superstar leaves a legacy that must be balanced between business and family feelings. Mary admitted the auction was difficult, but clearing the house was a necessity before it could become someone else's residence. Before we continue into Mary Austin's search for closure, do you feel Freddie's personal treasures should have remained with his family? Or was a public auction the right way to honor his legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you are enjoying this story so far, hitting like and subscribing really helps us keep making content like this. Now, let's carry on. Mary Austin admitted that she simply could not picture another person living in the house while Freddie's original furniture and personal belongings remained inside. To her, those items created a lingering presence that was no longer hers to maintain, and clearing the rooms allowed her to reset the space for a new owner. The massive task of cataloging every single piece for the Sotheby's auction gave her a final chance to revisit 30 years of memories. This process provided a sense of closure she had not found before, and she viewed this emotional cleansing as a necessary step as she approached her 75th year. Beyond her own peace of mind, the auction supported the charitable causes that Freddie would have championed during his life. The event turned out to be a massive success, with bidders pushing prices far beyond the original estimates just to own a small connection to the legendary singer. Once the final gavel fell at Sotheby's, the house sat as a bare canvas rather than the fully furnished museum many potential buyers expected to see. Mary actually preferred this change because she believed that Garden Lodge should always be a home first instead of a silent shrine to the past. Emptying the estate helped her separate the man she loved from the physical objects he once owned, which made it easier to accept the finality of the sale. Even though members of the Bulsara family expressed their own reservations about the process, Mary remained the ultimate decision-maker because Freddie had trusted her strength to do what was necessary. Moving from a house filled with history to one that was completely empty stood as the most difficult part of her final years there. She felt she had to walk this difficult path to ensure the building could find a fresh start with a new family. Eventually, the proceeds from the auction began to fund life-saving research and support, serving as a final tribute to the generosity Freddie showed his friends. Mary Austin viewed the auction as a way to share the beauty Freddie surrounded himself with while also doing something meaningful for the wider community. For decades, she had personally polished the silver and cared for the art, and she felt these items deserved to be appreciated by the world. The auction in 2023 carried immense emotional weight because it offered the public a rare glimpse into the private tastes of a man who was usually very guarded. While seeing the items leave the house was a bittersweet experience, Mary also felt a sense of relief that she was no longer the sole protector of such fragile treasures. This act of release became the final hurdle she had to clear before she could officially list Garden Lodge on the market in 2024. By letting go of the items, she signaled that she was finally ready to say a permanent goodbye to her sanctuary in Kensington. The 8-bedroom mansion stands as a powerful reminder of the incredible success Freddie Mercury achieved after he moved to London from Zanzibar as a young man with a vision. Garden Lodge represented the ultimate symbol of his journey, providing a level of security and creative freedom that he had once only imagined. Mary Austin still remembers the deep pride he took in every corner of the property, and she sees the current sale as the final chapter of that storied history. Throughout her 75th year, she has spent a great deal of time contemplating the future of the estate and what it means to move on. She maintains that the sale is not about the money, even with the staggering £30 million price tag attached to the official listing. Her main priority remains finding a buyer who will love the house with the same intensity that she and Freddie did for so many years. She believes the walls of Garden Lodge have absorbed the music and the laughter of Freddie's final decade, and she wants a successor who can truly feel that history. The official listing by Knight Frank calls the house a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own rock history, and Mary believes that description is accurate but perhaps a bit understated. Her view is that the house was much more than a historical site because it was a living home where Freddie felt safe enough to be his most authentic self. The expansive gardens and the high walls provided him with a sanctuary where the pressures of global fame could finally be left at the gate. Strict rules for potential buyers are a final gift from Mary to Freddie, and this ensures his home does not become a cold museum or a commercialized tourist trap. Inspiration is what she wants for the next residents, hoping a new family or a new artist can find the same peace Freddie found in the early 1980s. By filtering out the curious and the opportunistic, she is protecting the memory of the man who meant everything to her. Success and personal taste are on full display in the house, which she has often called his greatest achievement outside of his music. Moving the property to the next generation is a delicate process, so Mary is willing to wait as long as necessary to find the right steward. Vetting potential owners might seem like an obstacle to some, but she views it as a necessary filter for the soul of the building. Bricks and mortar do not define the mansion, as it remains a record of the bond Freddie and Mary shared from their first meeting until his final breath. As she prepares to hand over the keys, Mary is reflecting on the legacy of that bond and how it has shaped her own life for over half a century. Friendship became the foundation of their unique partnership after their romantic relationship evolved, and the house was the setting for that bond for decades. Freddie once called Mary the love of his life, a sentiment immortalized in song and proven by the immense trust he placed in her when he left her the entire estate. Trust is at the heart of the sale of Garden Lodge, and Mary is fulfilling her promise to look after his interests long after he was gone. Responsibility for the house has been carried with grace and determination, and she never wavered in her commitment to his wishes, even when the world demanded more. Memories of the fans will keep the legacy of the home alive, but its future as a private residence is now in the hands of the woman who knew Freddie best. Mary Austin is now in her 75th year, and her focus remains on the dignity and the peace that Freddie Mercury cherished above all else. As the sun sets on her time as the mistress of Garden Lodge, the story of the house remains one of the most compelling narratives in the history of modern celebrity. Loyalty is the central theme of this story about a young man who conquered the world and a young woman who stayed by his side through every triumph and every tragedy. Kensington is home to this quiet fortress that stands as a monument, shielding a legend from the storms of the outside world for 30 years. Final barriers were constructed through strict rules for the sale to ensure that his sanctuary remains a place of quiet reflection and artistic beauty. Simple peace is the greatest secret of all, and while the world may speculate about what lies within the walls, Mary knows the true value of the home she helped him create. Fame was transcended by the enduring bond between Freddie and Mary, and that connection is the true foundation of Garden Lodge. Meticulously maintained gardens and elegant architecture show that their bond remains visible as the property prepares for its next chapter. Strength and a desire to see the house thrive under new owners led to the final decision to sell, following 30 years of ensuring his vision lived on. Love and stewardship define the legacy of the home, which will always be tied to the man who built it and the woman who protected it. Before the house finally changes hands, it remains a silent witness to a life lived with passion and a friendship that stood the test of time. Heartfelt reasons have finally been explained by Mary Austin, and she has given the world one last glimpse into the life of the woman Freddie Mercury trusted with everything. This Kensington mansion stands as far more than just a valuable piece of real estate. It represents the realized dreams of a boy from Zanzibar who became a king in London. Although Mary Austin approaches the end of her time as the guardian of this estate, her lasting influence on the history of the house will never fade. Austin managed the complicated details of the Mercury estate with a rare sense of duty. Her steady hand proved she was the right person to hold the keys to his private world. Protecting the peace of Garden Lodge served as her final gift to him, ensuring the sanctuary he loved remained a place of quiet dignity for decades. She moves toward a new chapter of her own life with the knowledge that she kept every promise made to the man who called her his common-law wife. Their shared story offers a powerful reminder that some human bonds are stronger than fame and more enduring than even the grandest mansion in the world. The home in Kensington will stand as a permanent symbol of their shared history. Every brick marks a piece of rock legend built on mutual respect and deep personal affection, serving as a testament to their long bond. Austin set strict rules for the sale as one final act of love to ensure their peace stays undisturbed. While the search for a new owner continues, the spirit of the legendary singer lingers in every sunlit room of the house he called home. Mary has now fulfilled her final mission, leaving the legacy of Garden Lodge ready for a new owner who will love the property. Before we conclude this story, share your thoughts on the strict rules Mary set for the sale of the Mercury home in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey through the history of Garden Lodge, hitting the like button and subscribing helps us continue making documentaries like this one. Those famous gates will remain closed for a while longer, as the final guardian prepares to say her last goodbye to the house that changed her life.